In 2023, Josh Allen played for 2 offensive coordinators. Which one of those stat lines of Josh Allen was under the supervision and coaching of Ken Dorsey, the Bills offensive coordinator who was fired after a 5-5 start and who was just recently signed to the Browns as their newest offensive coordinator? To answer the question, it was Ken Dorsey who produced a more potent and lively passing attack with those 260 passing yards and 1.9 touchdowns per game for Josh Allen. There's a lot of speculation as to why Ken Dorsey was fired. Bills fans have their reasons. Fans from around the NFL have their own. I think Bills fans feel more that Dorsey was responsible for the team's lack of success and overall inconsistency, while outside NFL fans view it as Sean McDermott making him the scapegoat for overall organizational disorganization. It kind of lines up with the whole Tyler Dunne story that dropped earlier this year. Within those articles, McDermott making his coaches scapegoats as well as his players was a common theme, along with some other more radical belief systems that he admired. Ken Dorsey was fired the day after the Bills' epic collapse against the Denver Broncos. The main reason they lost that game was because of a too many men on the field penalty at the end of regulation.
12 men on defense.
Good snap, good hold, kick, perfect.
That is not Ken Dorsey's fault. But this video isn't about whether it was justified or not for Ken Dorsey to be fired in Buffalo. It's about how he will fit in with the Browns and if this is a good pickup or not. Some Browns fans are upset about the Ken Dorsey hiring because they bought into the easy line of thinking that he was responsible for a lot of the Bills' struggles. He was responsible for them going 5-5. There's been a narrative painted that they had this horrible offense that lacked imagination, that Josh Allen was being asked to do way too much, particularly in the run game. But as we saw from those stats listed off at the beginning of this video, Allen ran much more under Joe Brady than he did with Ken Dorsey. Ken Dorsey and the Buffalo Bills were not some anemic offense. In Dorsey's lone full season as the Bills offensive coordinator, the Bills finished as the number 2 total offense in the NFL. And while you might be arguing that that was all Josh Allen and that Dorsey isn't responsible for the success that was had, then you need to ask yourself, if Dorsey played no role or a minimal role in the Bills' 2022 offensive success and it was all Josh Allen, then why is he shouldering all of the blame for the struggles in 2023? Ken Dorsey has a solid history of getting the most out of athletic quarterbacks who have proven to be somewhat erratic at times, but he's gotten them under his wraps. As I'm sure you've seen on Browns Twitter, Dorsey was Cam Newton's quarterback coach in his best season as a pro, his 2015 MVP year, and he served as Josh Allen's dedicated quarterback coach from 2019 to 2020. In 2021, he was still his quarterback coach, but got the added responsibility of becoming the pass game coordinator for the Bills, working alongside Brian Daboll to really create one of Allen's greatest seasons that we've seen so far. And this is important to note because Dorsey's tenure as Josh Allen's quarterback coach coincides with Brian Daboll's time as the Bills' offensive coordinator, the man who most people attribute Josh Allen's growth and development to. Daniel Jones, a sloppy quarterback who has a lot of athletic gifts sneakily, has not been reined in whatsoever. So that creates some question marks. Was Daboll the one who developed Josh Allen to become a more complete quarterback who was more reined in? Or did Ken Dorsey have a bigger role to play in his development than we think? If we see what he did with Cam Newton, and then we see that he was around when Allen really turned the corner, it really makes you think. So I don't think it's unrealistic to have some sort of curiosity or even belief to think that Dorsey, the man, the one coach who has spent the most time with Josh Allen consistently throughout his NFL career, is very responsible for his development into becoming a superstar. And I don't mean to say that in a way that he created a superstar, but he harnessed those powers. And that's why I believe that Ken Dorsey has the ability to become one of the best hires that Kevin Stefanski has made in his tenure as the head coach of the Browns. One thing is certain about Dorsey's time as the offensive coordinator in Buffalo. The run game was always lacking. But in Cleveland with Chubb and Bill Callahan and Kevin Stefanski, the run scheme and attack and efficiency is already there. So it's a relative non-issue. It's also not why they brought him in. The run game has not been a problem when Nick Chubb has been healthy. They're bringing in Ken Dorsey because they've seen his track record of pulling the most that he can out of very talented athletic quarterbacks. Additionally, under Kevin Stefanski, this Browns passing attack has been viable, but it's more so been in the short to intermediate game. And that's where a guy like Dorsey comes in, a guy who can implement systems where his quarterbacks can stretch the field consistently. And that is one of Deshaun Watson's greatest strengths, something that we saw in Houston throughout his whole time there, and something that was missing in this scheme in his first couple seasons in Cleveland. And Watson still has that ability. You can try and rewrite it, but if you go back and watch the tape, those sideline throws he made against Tennessee, against Arizona, he can still make those throws. He wants to make those throws, and Dorsey is a guy who is shown to be able to make that happen consistently and explosively. In general, he is being brought in to create a system that can maximize Deshaun Watson's strengths. Kurt Warner put out a video on his channel, QB Confidential, which you should definitely check out. I think Kurt is one of the guys who can cut through the noise better than anyone, who gets away from the parroting effect that the media can create on the fans. He came out and he said, I don't know if Dorsey was really justifiably fired, because an offensive coordinator's job, or the question that you should be asking about an offensive coordinator is the offensive coordinator getting guys open for the team to have success? That to me should be the bottom line and the prerequisite to having a job or not having a job. And the thing is, when you go watch that episode of QB Confidential from that Denver and Buffalo game, guys were open. Josh Allen just wasn't hitting them. He was rushing through his reads. He felt uncomfortable.
Lay this over into that window. Take that shot. Why are we not taking the shot on this particular play? Those are the questions, not, hey, can our offense coordinator call plays to get guys open? We're seeing guys open.
And I do think that that has a lot to do with an offensive coordinator and a quarterback's relationship, but it also just could have been a bad game, something that they would have worked through. But McDermott saw it as a needed change. It did work out for them, so it is justified in the end, but it winds up being Cleveland's benefit. There are some other interesting metrics that you don't quite remember or think about when you think about Dorsey getting fired in Buffalo, like Stephon Diggs not recording another 100-yard game after he left. Some people might argue, hey, he was trying to force Diggs the ball too much, but hasn't that been one of the biggest gripes of Browns fans for the past couple of years? Why don't we give our best weapons the ball more? That is something that Ken Dorsey will do with this team. And I think that that is much needed. In 2024, Cleveland's #1 job and duty is to get the most that they can out of Deshaun Watson, to get him back to his 2020 form. And history has shown us that when Ken Dorsey isn't responsible for developing his quarterback and calling the plays, his teams have had wild success, and his quarterbacks have had the best years of their career. So before you make a judgment call, before you say what a bad move by the Browns and that Kevin Stefanski just doesn't want to give up control and doesn't want to give up play calling, consider that it might be a fantastic collaboration where they can grow and they can work things off of each other that will help Watson more than hurt him. It's going to be very exciting to see how he can pull the most that he can out of Deshaun Watson. But in the same way that you cannot mark this as a bad move, you can't mark it as a home run either. We're really gonna have to see what Dorsey can do, but I believe that history is showing that this is more likely a good move than bad. If Stefanski can continue to manage his staff the way that he has and get the most out of Dorsey while taking some pressure off of his shoulders, I think that it's going to create a really exciting, explosive offense. But additionally, it's going to require some new pieces. They had some great weapons to work with in Buffalo, and I just think that on the Browns side, particularly at receiver, they are lacking. They need a guy like Khalil Shakir. They need more of a Diggs type #1. Amari Cooper is great. He's getting older. He's more of a route guy, more of a possession guy. Elijah Moore, big tweener. David Njoku in this system, will be feasting. We saw Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, tight ends, can really thrive in these systems under Dorsey. It could be very beneficial, but they're going to need to add another explosive ball carrier and some depth behind Chubb. But we're going to get more into personnel type things, maybe some mock drafts as we work closer to the draft. But I just want to come out and make this video, try and quiet some noise and give you an objective look on if Dorsey is a good or bad hire. I'd love to know what you guys think. Please drop it below in the comments. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm right. But I think there are some very big things to be excited about heading into the 2024 season. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to buy some Optimistic Cleveland Fan Club stickers, I don't think I have them on me right now, but I will link them below. You can go and buy them. They're 10% off until the end of the Super Bowl cycle. So you can jump on, get 10% off with code Optimistic. Try and load up on those, put them around the city, give them to your family, and also subscribe to the Optimistic Fan Club podcast. We're going to be getting some Super Bowl preview stuff going out, and that's just going to be a hub that's updated with a lot of more free-flowing, unedited ideas. But I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. We will see you in the next one.